માર્કેટ માસ્ટર્સમાં આજે આપણે વાતચીત કરીશું એલારા કેપિટલના વાઇસ ચેરમેન અને સીઈઓ રાજ ભાટ સાથે. રાજજી, આપણું ઘણો સ્વાગત છે સર. અને જે રીતના માર્કેટનું આપણે બિહેવિયર અત્યારે જોઈ રહ્યા છે, વિટનેસ કરી રહ્યા છે, વોલેટાઇલ કારોબાર ઓફકોર્સ આપણે જોતા રહ્યા છે, પણ એમાં જે ટ્રેન્ડ્સ જોવા મળ્યા છે, પોઝિટિવ પણ ટ્રેન્ડ આપણે જોઈ રહ્યા છે. તમે કઈ રીતે રીડ કરી રહ્યા છો માર્કેટના બિહેવિયરને?
Thank you. See, the market today is more driven by the global events. जो बाहर इंडिया के बाहर हो रहा है वो फैक्टर्स ज़्यादा प्ले कर रहे हैं अभी. And we have we already had the problem of inflation in US. We had a problem of Fed tightening. We had a problem of how Fed is going to reduce its balance sheet, which they have already started. तो ये तीन चीजें जो है मार्केट को इम्पैक्ट कर रही थी. उसके बाद then we had a Ukraine war. And it exacerbated the whole situation, the inflation particularly, and also geopolitical risk. So I think Indian market will be driven from the events outside than in India right now, and this uncertainty will continue unless we get solution on the war and also on inflation, because US dollar interest rate is, critical for the world. Still, dollar is a reserve currency. But India has very good fundamentals in the market. So even if we see short-term correction, which is definitely possible, it will bounce back.
जैसे आपने कहा कि इट विल बाउंस बैक, लेकिन इन्फ्लेशन की चिंता आई थिंक पूरे ग्लोबल मार्केट्स में है, ग्लोबल कंट्रीज़ में अभी रही है. आप इंडिया की पोजीशन कैसे देख रहे हैं इन्फ्लेशन पर से, क्योंकि हमारे फंडामेंटल्स इंडिया में स्ट्रॉन्ग है. इन्फ्लेशन रेट्स ऑफ कोर्स थोड़े हमने जैसे देखे कि WPI CPI में थोड़ी बढ़ोतरी हुई है लास्ट मंथ के फिगर्स में, लेकिन अभी भी फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर कह रहे हैं कि हम एक कंफर्टेबल पोजीशन में हैं. इंडिया का इन्फ्लेशन की ट्रेजेक्ट्री आप क्या देख रहे हैं आगे जाके?
हम comfortable position में if we compare with other emerging markets. But if you look at the inflation numbers, they're really high compared to what we used to for last few years. So I think a lot will depend. We also have the energy, which is an important part of a component. And energy pricing is now, Ukraine war is driving the energy pricing, and there is uncertainty. उसमें कोई guarantee तो है नहीं कि energy dollar oil 150 हो जाएगा. Obviously it will hit India, both balance of payment में, also inflation side में. But also we are seeing the food inflation because we are now interlinked with the world. We can't be sort of isolated, and we are seeing food prices going up across the globe. If you look at basic commodities, corn and wheat, they have gone 20-25% in the West. Corn is a very important part of the food chain here, and Ukraine, Russia is obviously major suppliers. So I think this inflation will continue to trouble India, and we will have surprises on the negative side. And unless we find solution on the war, which doesn't look like it's going to happen. Even if war is stopped, sanctions will continue, and Ukraine will take a long time to come back to a situation where they can export. So inflation is a worry. It will continue to worry, and it will impact the market and the companies which have pricing power, which obviously will maintain earnings. So I expect earnings will be downgraded across the globe. It will start from US. We're already seeing disappointment in certain companies, and it will continue because now the wage inflation will kick in. We're reading news, the unions getting formed, Apple employee, then Amazon employee before that. So we're going to see serious wage inflation. So US is going to see major correction. So I personally feel India will also correct. But the timing, nobody knows. Obviously, it can happen next month, it can happen 6 months later, but it's bound to happen. Valuations are very frothy in US.
आप सही कह रहे हैं. इट्स अ कैच 22 सिचुएशन. एक तरफ कंपनीज को इम्पोर्ट कॉस्ट में डिफ़िकल्टी हो रही है, वहाँ एक प्राइस की बढ़ोतरी देख रहे हैं, और दूसरी तरफ वेज हाइक्स होते हैं. वो एक बैलेंस मेंटेन करना पड़ेगा, तो वो आगे जाके हम इसमें एक पेन देख सकते हैं. लेकिन जैसे आपने कहा कि फूड इन्फ्लेशन अगर जो बढ़ जाता है, तो दैट्स कॉज ऑफ कंसर्न, क्योंकि हम दूसरी चीज़ों के बिना रह सकते हैं लेकिन बेसिक नेसेसिटी के बिना नहीं रह सकते हैं, और उसमें अगर इन्फ्लेशन कैच कर लेता है तो बहुत प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है, स्पेशली भारत में जहां हमने रूरल सेक्टर में देखा है कि इतनी डिमांड नहीं है। लेकिन दूसरी तरफ अगर देखें तो कार की डिमांड्स रही है, फोर व्हीलर्स में एक काफ़ी डिमांड रही है, और हम देख रहे हैं कि वेट पीरियड भी बहुत सारा है। वो डिमांड को अभी आप आगे जाके कैसे अफेक्ट करेगा, क्योंकि वहाँ से अगर डिमांड नहीं आती है तो पूरी ग्रोथ की ट्रेजेक्ट्री पे एक इफेक्ट पड़ रहा है।
आपने दो क्वेश्चंस पूछे, एक आपका था फूड इन्फ्लेशन, हाउ इट विल इम्पैक्ट कॉमन इंडियंस। फॉर्चुनेटली हमारे यहाँ गवर्नमेंट का पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम इज वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग एंड दे गिव food at subsidized prices. So I think it's a very good shock absorber system we have in India, and we are food surplus country. So I think that I don't see a major impact hitting poor people, but it will hit obviously. Cost of vegetables are not supplied through the PDS system. And the second question you asked me that how this inflation will impact the food inflation, impact the demand of consumer durables like cars. It will. Right now there's a pent up demand because people have saved a lot of money during this lockdown, and a lot of people got paid by sitting at home. They saved on transportation, they saved on travel, they saved on holidays. So that money is being spent, and that's happening across all the countries. Wherever India's less so, but India also has saving rate had gone up during lockdown, but particularly a country like US where the money was, checks were dished out to everybody for sitting at home. So US, I think more worry in US is, I think US is going to, I feel a recession down the line in US. It could be very severe recession. I think market is underestimating because they're discounting this inflation which is running right now. They're discounting the wage pressures, and they're also discounting the liquidity what the Fed had put into the system. Its impact is going to come. They can delay it, but it is bound to impact. So I expect correction in housing, correction in equities, and also correction in bonds and correction in cryptos. So all asset classes, they will be in decline, and that will create a wealth effect, and the consumer becomes more defensive. So I'm personally very, very bearish, from US. Europe and UK are not that, they're not, that bubble is not there, but US, the bubble is definitely there.
Yes, maybe price of printing lot of money, उसका इफ़ेक्ट हम आगे देखेंगे जिस तरह से यूएस इकोनॉमी जा रही है। लेकिन जो भी सिनेरियो है, जो भी हम एनवायरनमेंट में अभी रह रहे हैं, आप कौन से सेक्टर्स पे अभी इन्वेस्टमेंट की राय देंगे? कहाँ आप इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं अभी?
हमारा मेजर, हम तो ग्लोबली इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, मेजर्स हमारा इन्वेस्टमेंट अभी हमारा मेटल्स में बहुत है हमारा, मेटल्स इज, आई थिंक सबसे ज़्यादा हमारा ओवरवेट मेटल्स में है, एंड वो कंटिन्यू रहेगा. सम द ऑयल पोजीशंस वी एग्जिटेड, आई थिंक आई शुड हैव प्रॉब्ली, बट व्हेन यू आर मेकिंग सो मच प्रॉफिट यू एग्जिट. एंड दूसरा जो कंपनीज में प्राइसिंग पावर है, FMCGs, where they can pass on their prices to the consumer. So that sector which is going to stock, and the pharmaceutical, of course, these defensives. So we are on defensive, we are low on technology, and but US had seen some major corrections. I'm talking about US stocks, because in India we don't invest technology so much, and US has seen some significant corrections of the technology. I can name PayPal is one company, where it's trading today as 20 PE, a company which is growing at 20-25%. So some selectively in technology also stocks are available which are reasonably priced, and of course the uncertainty is always going to affect these stocks, but the valuation look attractive. Some of the technology stock which have corrected 60-70% in US. And so these are sectors, basically pharmaceuticals and the metals.
वो आप भारत में ये सेक्टर्स को आप आगे जाके
भारत में भी है, भारत में भी मेटल्स में हमारा एक्सपोजर है और कंटिन्यू रहेगा.
और दूसरी कोई सेक्टर्स जो आप इंडिया में देख रहे हैं?
इंडिया PSU पैक्स स्टिल अट्रैक्टिव, तो हमारे कुछ I will not like to name those companies, but we have some PSU stocks which our valuation was very attractive today. And I like State Bank and ICICI Bank, which we've sold out everything, but we would like to get back in these two counters whenever the correction comes. So we're waiting for some correction to happen and then probably invest in these financials.
जो अभी रिसेंटली मर्जर की अनाउंसमेंट हुई है HDFC बैंक HDFC बैंक की तरफ आप कुछ देख रहे हैं और बैंकिंग सेक्टर की तरफ दूसरा कुछ आप देख रहे हैं?
See, there was a euphoria when announcement came. Obviously, announcement does make sense because the cost of borrowing will come down for HDFC and BFC. And valuation is right now looking attractive. But, I just said that we are waiting for some correction to happen before we get in. But this is also in our radar. HDFC Bank is the very attractively valued stock. So financial sector, HDFC, ICICI, and the State Bank. These are three. And then, we've been we're bullish on ITC for a long time. That's also defensive, in India.
जी दूसरा जो एक पॉइंट मैं आपके साथ डिस्कस करना चाह रही थी वो था कि जो FIIs की बहुत सारी विड्रॉल हो गई है, काफ़ी मंथ से हो रही है एक्चुअली. आपको क्या लगता है कौन से पॉइंट्स की कौन सी सिचुएशन उनको अट्रैक्ट करेगी वापस इंडिया में इन्वेस्टमेंट शुरू करने के लिए?
See, FII ka withdrawal in India is not the reason. It's a geopolitical risk. Whenever these situations like war with Ukraine happens, of course so FII have been selling all emerging markets. They sold China big time. They sold Brazil. They sold India. So this, unless we see stability back home in the US and the also situation war improves, we are not going to see major FII flow coming to India on the capital market. FDI investment will continue to come into India that time because people are very bullish about India because of the current situation in China, and generally people are now they are looking for a market other than China, and India is the most attractive market. So there will be a lot of FDI inflow, but I think on the hot money side, on the capital markets and debt markets, we will not see significant inflow coming into India for some time till we have. Yeah. Also, the dollar rate.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, because dollar is becoming interest rates going up. We've never seen these. 2 years treasury giving you 3% return. The last 10-15 years, these are unprecedented returns. So people like to go back to treasury basically. But yeah.
Sure. आप इंश्योरेंस सेक्टर को कैसे देख रहे हैं? इंश्योरेंस सेक्टर एज ए इन्वेस्टमेंट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू आप कैसे देख रहे हैं भारत में, क्योंकि वो एक निगलेक्टेड सेक्टर रहा है लेकिन अभी उसमें भी इन्वेस्टमेंट हो रहा है, आप कैसे देख रहे हैं?
मुझे तो पर्सनली मेरे को वैल्यूएशन अभी भी फ्लॉटी लगते हैं इंश्योरेंस का. आई नो because globally, if you look at insurance companies, they have very attractive PE multiple, very attractive dividend yield. You'll be surprised in UK and Europe and even Switzerland, Switzerland, all these companies pay 5-6% dividend today. And PE multiple is roughly 8 to 10, So there are wonderful opportunities outside, especially Europe. European insurance sector very attractive. India, I think LIC IPO will open up the door. So let's hope that IPO gets completed and we'll see a lot of investment. So unless valuations become reasonable, I think we'll see muted demand from our side.
वो LIC